listening to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast, presented by Brandon Elliott. This show will be going over all aspects of real estate investing and is intended to educate, motivate, and prepare you to take action on your first or next real estate investment. For more information, please visit BrandonElliottInvestments.com. Thank you for listening and enjoy.
What's happening, everyone, and welcome back to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Brandon Elliott. Excited to have Quentin West in the building with us today. Not in the building, it's virtual, but we're going to have fun. So you're in North Carolina, so coast to coast right now. I'm in San Diego. You got started investing in real estate back in 2019, so about 6 years ago, right? You started coaching about 3 years ago also, and you have a unique situation, right? You found yourself about to get into the foreclosed, on your property. So pre-foreclosure going into, and something had to take place, right? So instead of losing your property and just giving up and walking away and saying, well, real estate sucks, like so many out there do that run into problems, you got creative. You moved out. You ended up doing short-term rentals, Airbnb on your property, and then it turned into a success, saved the property, got caught up, and then turned it into a business and started actually making six figures plus doing it, which is pretty awesome. So there's a lot to be said with that. But for anybody that doesn't know who you are, where you're from, your background, and why the heck you even got started in real estate in the beginning, like what was life like before that? Do you mind just giving us that 30,000 foot view?
Yeah, for sure. So my name's Quentin West. I'm the CEO and founder of Shortcut to Superhost. Today, we help newer existing investors start, optimize, or scale their portfolios. So whether you're just getting started, you literally just found out about Airbnb and decide, hey, it's a good idea to jump in or put my spare bedroom on the platform, or you've got 200 plus units. We've helped anybody between that range. And I would say I had a really rocky start to life. I went to Virginia Tech for aerospace engineering, thought I was incredibly smart at the time. I worked, marginally at best in high school and got into my dream school. And about a year and a half in, I figured out I sucked at school in general, especially math, and aerospace engineering was not something I wanted to pursue. So I dropped out of college, became the black sheep in my family for a little while, and I started working construction. And I was really interested in real estate, always really interested, but obviously didn't have the money to get started, didn't have the knowledge, and didn't have the guts to jump in. And I had a series of pivotal things that happened in a very short period of time. I was working as a heavy equipment operator. I swung a crane into a power line. I almost died on a job site. And after that, I was like, screw construction. I'm done with this. This is too dangerous. And I was like, well, maybe I can get my real estate license, and then that'll ease my way into the investment part of the business. And I didn't realize how hard real estate agents actually have to work. And 3 months in, I made no money, and I got a foreclosure notice for my house. And I was considering just letting it go, or, maybe like reaching out to everybody in my family to try to get some help. But I met over coffee with a friend just to catch up. And he ended up telling me that he had an Airbnb down the street. And I was like, well, if your place is making this much money, like maybe I can just put my place up and just pay the bills, maybe catch up, save the house, figure out, something else later. Yeah. So I moved back in with my parents and became the black sheep again because they didn't realize how much trouble I was actually in. I wasn't sharing that. And the first month I made $1,000 in profit.
Nice.
Totally blew my expectations away. I mean, I barely knew anything about the platform. The second month I made $1,500 in profit. And by the third month, I realized that I've got some potential here. Like, this could be a business. It was the most money I ever made dollar per hour working in my entire life. So I went to YouTube to try to learn some creative ways to get more properties, because I bought that place with the FHA loan. I had little money. And at this point, all I have is a credit card. And the YouTube video talked about Airbnb arbitrage, where you could rent a house and, with the owner's permission, sublease it on Airbnb. And sure, if you collect all the money and pay your bills, you hopefully have $1,000 a month left in profit. And I didn't even finish that video. I went straight to Zillow, started calling owners. 7 days later, I met through coffee with an owner, and we signed a lease that day. And I'll never forget, I had to make up some story about me taking possession 2 weeks later because I didn't have any money. I didn't know where the first month's rent deposit was going to come from. But I told him my team, my 3-man team, me, myself, and I needed 2 weeks to get everything set up before we could take possession, and he went for it. And I sent myself an invoice through QuickBooks, and I paid it with my credit card so I could liquidate that credit card and then write a check to the guy for the first month's rent deposit.
Man, come on. When there's a will, there's a way. When there's a will, there's a way. Let's go.
Yeah. I had to get so creative during that time. I mean, I had nothing, I mean, obviously, my parents had money. I grew up in I would say upper middle class, but didn't want to reach out to them. Didn't want to, really do any of that. I wanted to bridge my own way and had to beat my head against the wall all the way up.
I love that. So you liquidated some credit cards into cash. Did you have any issues with the liquidation? Did they freeze any accounts, or how much money did you take out?
It was only like $6,000. It wasn't, they didn't liquidate or they didn't freeze anything. They didn't give me any issues, but it was the first time where, I didn't even know if it was going to work. I just tried it. I was like, I've got this credit card. I think it was like a Chase Preferred or something.
Yep.
And I've just maxed it out, and I used that first $3,000 for the first month's rent deposit. And I had another 3 plus another credit card that I used to buy furniture used off of Facebook Marketplace.
That's good. Just for everybody's caution out there, typically be very, very cautious because you could, if it's a certain dollar amount, certain relationship with that card, with the bank and so forth, we've seen it many times, people trying to do it themselves and getting their accounts flagged or financial review or just shut down. So just be cautious. But again, I'd rather you not overcomplicate things. When there's a will, there's a way. Quinn had no other option. He wasn't going to go to parents. This was an option, and he ended up utilizing it, and it worked out in your favor. So talk to me. After you got the cash that you needed, then you started 2 weeks later, you jumped in and started rocking and rolling with it.
Yeah, I would say it took me about 30 days to really put everything together because, I had to go and piece together everything used.
Yeah.
And then I had to take it to the house and get everything set up. And so probably about 60 days in, I made my first $1,000 in profit on that place. Then the next month, I think we averaged about $1,200 on that place throughout the years. We've still got it to this day. But after I had that proof of concept, I really dove into credit stacking and learning how to build my business credit and, adding myself as an authorized user to my parents' accounts so I could, get access to more credit and things like that. And that helped me get to about 12 units in the first year. And at that point, I was cash flowing like $14,000 a month on Airbnb, continued really pushing that hard. I went through, I would say like a 6 to 12 month period where I over leveraged myself and my cash flow was just enough where I was paying my bills, did some creative things, got some of that stuff paid off. And then in 2.5 years from starting, I built it up to 47 units in 3 states.
47 units in 3 states?
In 3 states.
Come on.
Yep. So at that point, I was making on average like $130,000 a month, and I really pushed it too hard. This is the important part that most people don't tell you is you need to know your numbers. I had properties that were losing money every month, but I didn't realize it because I was just looking at my monthly nut. Like if I was in the green, I was good and I was going to keep on doing more.
Good. Yeah, focusing on the KPIs and actually seeing it broken down per property, because that's a real business, right? When you're actually tracking it like that versus just looking in the bank and it's like, there's more money going out than going in. That's weird. What's up with that? You don't know which one it is.
Yeah, no, exactly. That was my problem. That was ultimately the downfall. If I had my account, I was setting up new units, and I launched 11 all at one time in 2 states, 7 in Arizona and 4 in Texas.
Sure.
And I did it in July. If you know anything about Arizona, people are not traveling or vacationing to Arizona in July.
I was just there a week ago, and it was 112 degrees. I was like, my God, this is like an oven. It's wild.
Yeah. Yeah, those 11 units were around 25 to 30,000 a month in rent.
Yeah.
So in 5 months of those, paired with the property as I was losing money on and me flying back and forth, I had a manager back home that was basically sitting at home watching Netflix while my properties just dwindled away. I went from making, 6 figures a month to borrowing quarters from my kids' piggy bank just to eat. I spent everything I owned, all my trailers, cars, guns, everything you can think of, I had to sell just to try to pay payroll and keep up with this big hole I dug myself.
How many people were on payroll at that point?
At that point, I would say I had close to 10. I had a full-time designer. I had a full management team. I had a couple of VAs. I had an executive assistant.
Yeah.
Cleaners, you name it. I had a ton of people working.
Yeah. So going back to business credit, right? When there's a will, there's a way. You started figuring out like, hey, this whole, I borrowed $6,000 from my credit card to be able to make this dream turn to reality, and it started paying off and paid back, right? And so obviously you're like, moment. I did the same thing. I utilized credit to be able to buy properties and then complete the renovation with them. And so, we call it at Credit Counseling Elite, we call it a mass apply, when you're putting anywhere from 10 to 50 plus applications in the right order, and you apply for them over 30 days and get up to 90% approval odds. So talk to me, how much funding did you get, and how long of a time frame? And then what did you do with that funding right away? Was it all to just leverage and liquidate to put towards the real estate, or did you have it as some backup plans, or what was the goals with it? Were you diversifying?
Yeah, no, I wasn't doing anything intelligently.
Just all in.
Yeah, all in 100%. I mean, I don't think I had a single, I think even some cards were over 100% utilization.
Ooh, okay. How much did you get?
I would say I got, let's just call it like 115, something around there.
Okay.
So nothing crazy. I mean, compared to what you can actually get.
Yeah.
But as soon as I got what I thought was like a huge number, I just stopped building it and just went all to open up as many units as possible.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, go ahead.
So the 6,000 that you started with for that first property, what did that look like? Where did you spend that $6,000?
So 3,000 on first month's rent deposit. Well, I guess a little less than that. My rent was $1,300 a month. So really cheap rent. Deposit was the same. And then I spent the rest just on used furniture on Facebook Marketplace. I bought like a Craft and Barrel couch, like a $3,000 couch for $300.
Nice.
And really like put in the stupidest offers on as many pieces as I could, as cheap as possible. And it ended up working out really well. I mean, I think I still did have to put a little bit of money into it, maybe like a couple grand that I used from my other property that was making money. And, at this point I started selling like 1 or 2 houses a month. So that helped.
Oh, you were still doing the agent thing of selling property?
Yeah, I had to. Okay. I mean, I wasn't making enough money to live off of.
Yeah.
So I think like my 4th month as an agent, I finally got my first deal, and I think it was like $2,200.
Good. I'm glad you didn't give up. So many people give up, but also it's not talked about enough of like, hey, your first 6 to 12 months might be nothing. You may be just working your butt off for a very long time just to build those relationships, right? And so it takes some time.
Yeah, it does. And there were some people I would say were semi-mentors in my office, but nobody was sitting down with me and saying, hey, like, this is how you prospect. This is what a CRM is. This is how you organize your leads. Yes. So I mean, even a year in, I would say I still didn't even have like a full business, know? And then I ended up dropping my license about 2.5 years in, just because I was tired of going to the classes and I really didn't need it anymore.
Yeah. That's good. So, I was going to get my agent's license in the very beginning. And at that point, I already had 10 income producing properties that I was buying one at a time. And I realized that I was doing it for the wrong reason. I was doing it for credibility and maybe that I could get better deals or something. I don't know. And then eventually I realized right before I paid all the fees and everything, and I was just about to take the test, and I was like, you know what? I actually don't want to be an agent. I don't want to be like slave labor of showing properties or writing contracts, like not for them. I rather for me. And so I realized I wanted to be an investor. And so I just stopped right then and there. And thank God I did, because like you said, it's hard work and it's a lot to really try to make something. But talk to me, going back to this property, the 6K, how long until you actually started making that money back to pay off that credit card?
So, I mean, pretty much immediately I was making
Cool.
1,500 in profit.
Okay. So 6 months or so?
Yeah. I mean, I would say I waited until the very last part of that intro period to pay it off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then even some when I had the 110 and I, whatever it was, and I maxed all that out, I carried that interest for probably a year, because I still just, 100% all in all the time.
Love it.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to go slower to go farther, is what I had to learn the hard way.
I like that. And guys, look, if you're listening to this and you're like, hey, I want to take the same path that Brandon did or Quentin here and get some funding to be able to have a will to be able to get into real estate, right? Have an option. If you're looking to be able to do that, check out creditcounselelite.com. That's www.creditcounselelite.com. We can show you how to get up to $500,000 in new funding and show you how to do it every 6 months repeated per person with interest rates as low as 0%. So definitely have it down to a science at this point. That's awesome, man. So talk to me about, you started growing and scaling this, and until you felt like, well, you realized at some point there was like an element of, oh crap, I think we're losing money here. You're in 3 states, 47, 47 different units.
Yeah.
And so where was the moment, because you weren't keeping track of like the KPIs or per property broken down? How did you find out that you were losing money, and what did that look like? What did you do first?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it wasn't a moment. I would say I got hit by a truck. I remember explicitly waking up one day and I had negative $2,500 in my bank account. I owed $67,000 in rent on the first. It was the first. And my Amex bill was at $150,000 for a charge card. And it was due that day. So here I, 210 due today with a negative bank account balance and no money coming in. So, I mean, that was the moment. But
you didn't see it at all. And it just, until it was there.
I saw it, like creeping up on me, but obviously, if you don't know exactly what to do, you're just going to keep working, then that was my mindset up to that point. I'm just going to keep grinding until it gets better, and not ask for help and, consult with people that know more than I. I really didn't even, I knew there were podcasts and stuff out there, but I didn't know about like business coaches and, these communities you could join where there's people that have gone through all these things that you may go through.
Yeah.
And
so what did you do in this season when you're like, rent's due, I can't afford it, don't have it, my credit cards are maxed out, couple $100,000 in debt, and my bank account's negative? What did you do?
I mean, I would say for 30 days, I just kind of ignored it. I didn't know what. I mean, I spiraled down into such a depression that I could barely go to bed before lunchtime, because it was like nothing I could do in a single day was enough to get me out of the hole. And I was, just extremely depressed. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. Helpless. But eventually, I would say it took me 3 months to get out of that like wave. Obviously during that time, I wasn't just ignoring everybody. I had to talk to people I owed money to and tell them what was going on. Finally, after the third week in a row of the check being on the way, they realized that there was a problem, and I had to be honest about the situation. And pretty much how I treated it was I just told them exactly how bad it was, and no matter what happened, I would pay the debt off, any way that I possibly could, and make things right. And they could either decide to split from me at that time, or we could work together to, get back on top. And I had a couple people that wanted to just go their separate ways, and some were not as nice, and I tried to pay him as long as I could. I have one guy that I had bad blood with out of all the properties we had. because I tried for 3 months. This property was in Texas. I tried for 3 months to get the house rented. I was trying to find a tenant for him to replace the rent that I was supposed to pay him because he wouldn't let me out of the lease. And after 3 months and their agent not showing up for showings and him telling me it wasn't his problem, it was like, sorry, man, like there's nothing more I can do. And of course he was angry about it, but what do you do at that point? I mean, I'd paid him as much as I possibly could to try to do the right thing. But ultimately, he was inhibiting it and making it even worse. So other than that, everybody that I owe money to, I paid off. The people that worked with me over the years, and some forgave some of the debt, which I appreciated. And,
how much money did you owe for the guy that you have bad blood with?
Oh, it was like $3,000. It wasn't anything crazy.
Have you just thought about like paying him the difference, like paying him that money back?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So talk to me about.
Now that you say that, I may reach out and just do that. I mean, honestly, I haven't really thought about it since then. To be honest, the guy kind of was an asshole from there and posted my name all over the internet. So I kind of did have some negative connotations toward him too. But
yeah,
to close the gap, I think that would make sense.
Yeah. It'd probably feel good on both sides.
Yeah, I agree. Foundation.
Yeah. So as far as how long did it take? You said it took 3 months. You basically had some people say, no, we want to go separate ways, pay us back when you can. Other people said, fine, we'll work with you. Yep. What changed?
Oh, it was longer than 3 months, but that took me 3 months to go from wallowing in my sorrows to getting out of the hole and just deciding I'm going to fight back.
Like you're going to step up and say, hey, I have a problem, everyone. Here, hands up. Like, this is this. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So it took a couple of months to speak up behind it. And then afterwards, how long did it take to turn things around? How many properties did you drop down to? 47 to what?
I would say around 30.
Okay.
Dropped down to around 30.
Still in 3 states?
No. Oh, right now we have 45. Well, 43. We just sold 2.
But then I guess when you drop down, so
this one state.
You dropped down just to 1. Okay.
Yep. So got back to just North Carolina, paid off the units in Arizona. They ended up selling I think it was like $60,000 in furniture for $20,000, just so I could pay the leases off and get out of them. That was our deal. They let me off for the 20. And then I got back to North Carolina. I figured out all the properties that were putting holes in my bucket, basically the ones that were leaking profits.
I figured that out.
Just sitting down and looking at exactly how much I was making every month.
It was all being rented on Airbnb, right?
Airbnb and VRBO.
Okay. So you can basically see which properties money's going to and so forth. You can start seeing, because they help out with a good bit of, accounting. However, the expenses, you need to look at your credit cards and the cleaners, stuff like that, maintenance.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was the main problem. My books were such a mess that I would just swipe a card. Anytime any property needed something, I would just swipe a card.
Yep. It's just easier. This is something that no matter how good you believe you have it, it is one of the very first things that I highly recommend. Invest in not just a good bookkeeper, somebody that's excellent. And I've been through a handful of them, so I can connect you with somebody that's legit, anybody that is listening to this. But we hired on over a year ago, maybe 2 years ago now, a CFO that has been everything, found an extra $500,000 in an account. How embarrassing was that? And then just recently found another $36,000 from a merchant account that was closed years ago that they didn't tell me about. There was money in there and that they were just holding hostage that we had to sign off and get released. I was like, you're kidding me. But these guys are constantly, when you have not just finding money, saving money, making money, they have projections of where we're currently at towards our goals and what it looks like on a monthly basis, how off we were last month or how above we were, and all these different things. And when you have clear indications of the finances, then you have clarity behind the business in general. You know where the boat's moving. And it's so important. It's everything. It really is. So invest in that stuff first. If you start making some good money, guys, like I highly encourage it. It's going to be a huge blessing. So you just started doing that stuff yourself, starting to dial it in it, overall. And you're like, oh, here's where all the expenses are. This is the money in, money out. And then what?
Some of the properties were coming up for renewal. So just didn't renew the lease.
Yep.
And then other ones, I had really good relationships with the owners. Some of them, I just had a conversation. It was like, look, we're not making money. If we find you another tenant, can we get out of the lease? And they're like, yeah. So we placed some tenants for some of those, and they were fine with it.
With the furniture, though, because you filled up all these properties, I'm sure, right? A majority of them. What did you do with that stuff? Because it's not as easy as just like getting out of the lease. And like you said before, you sold $60,000 worth of furniture that you probably paid 60 grand, but you sold it for 20. It's only because it's hard to sell furniture.
Yeah, it's funny you asked that. I have probably 10,000 square feet.
Oh, yeah.
Furniture right now.
Yep. It's hard to sell that stuff. You could open up a damn shop right now. That's your next business.
Yeah. I mean, we probably have like 8 houses worth of furniture in there.
Wow.
Some of the stuff I've given away.
Yep.
Like I have a couple friends and family members. My parents have some Airbnbs. I've given them some of the furniture. Some of the stuff I've sold. We've had local people that I've coached, and they wanted to set up Airbnbs. And I was like, well, go look in my storage. Like, please buy whatever, or I'll give you some of the stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's not like you can sell it top dollar or even for half of what you bought it for.
Yeah. Rarely even a quarter. If you can get 10 to 20%, you're in good shape. So talk to me, how much is that storage unit costing you per month?
Oh, it's in basements of homes that we own. And so they don't use the basement in those homes. So we just lock them off and use them as storage, and they're climate controlled and stuff like that. So the stuff is
not good. Not dungeons down there.
Not dungeons.
Okay.
But yeah, I thought about just doing like a massive yard sale and just getting rid of running a couple ads on Facebook and having a couple hundred people come out and just buy it all.
Yeah. Must go. I like it.
Yeah.
So what, is there a silver lining here? How did things get turned around and stabilized? And how you feeling with books now? Do you have a bookkeeper?
Yeah, we've got a fractional CFO, just like what you have. And they've been a massive lifesaver. They help with mergers and acquisitions too, and do all kinds of stuff. So they've been a lifesaver for somebody that's very unorganized like me. But yeah, we had to get really creative. Like, obviously I dug such a huge hole that the Airbnb revenue alone wasn't enough. Eventually I could have gotten out of it, but not at a speed that would make sense. So I started doing like partnership flips, I guess you would say. Like, I would find a deal and I didn't have any of the money, but I would negotiate the terms and secure the funds, and then would split the profits. So I did like 3 of those and made like $100 grand, and that paid down a big part of it. And then I had a house that I bought seller financing in 2020 or 21. And it had appreciated a lot since then. I think I had like 150 in equity. So I sold it, and that paid off basically the rest of what I owed after that.
Now debt free, you're in a position that everything's paid off. How long were you in debt on the credit cards for? Were accounts getting closed out? Were payments?
Yeah, so I lost the Amex. That was the only one I lost because it was a charge card and it was so high. So we ended up negotiating that and paying it down. And they gave us, I think is it called an Icon card or something? It's something they give for, like, if you negotiate down a debt, they give you some card to start your credit again with them. But I ended up negotiating that down once I got back on top, so I could start establishing my relationship with them again.
Yeah.
Obviously, like having a platinum and especially the gold card for like advertising and stuff, you get so many extra points or to keep that relationship. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it took some time, but we got it right. And now much more cautious with credit.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to be cautious with credit because you don't want to make the mistake of mismanaging it, right? And then like at the end of the day, because I'm sure the credit score got trashed as well, right? And so during that time frame, now we got to rebuild the credit again. And if we focus on business credit and business credit only 0% and get hundreds of thousands, if you need 100,000, great, get 200,000, get 300,000, and diversify and have, but know your numbers, right? And have this stuff dialed in and get more of it every 6 months and move money around in case, but obviously just be a good steward of that stuff because it's super, super crucial. It's very important. Yeah. I like it. So talk to me, what's the current moment look like? And then how's life changed now? And what does the future look like for you?
Yeah, man, life has taken a dramatic shift. A couple of years ago, I owed money to so many people. I had over 100 creditors calling me a day. So it really gave me kind of some PTSD for phone calls. I had to change my ringer after that period of time. But getting back on the backside of that, now we just launched a software. We've got over 1,200 students in 15 countries. We've got 43 units. I'm actually selling my arbitrage portfolio right now. We're in the process of that because we started a new model called fractional hosting. And we're raising money for a 166 unit hotel in Vegas. So a lot of exciting things going on now that I would not have thought would have happened this quick, just on the back end of something as dramatic as that.
Yeah. Are you partnering with other people doing these things, or is this like you're leading it and I'm
not leading it. No, it's my first hotel. So something that large is a $16 million building. I'm a co-GP with a guy called Alex Lovely. He's a friend of mine. He's got, I think, 59 million or so under management. So we're taking down that deal, and we have another operator that has 13 hotels, and he's got a ton of experience managing large hotels. But that's the next step for me. I'm at the point where, we've got the cash flow, and I want to get more long-term wealth. I want to buy large assets that I can, use some of the skills that I've learned for optimization to improve the net operating income and overall equity in a building and just do bigger deals. I mean, that's been the goal all along. I wanted to buy real estate and never really have to worry about anything again. Because, cash flow is great, but if you have a hard asset sitting there that's paying you every month, even if it's a smaller payout, you stack those up and, you've got sticking power. You've got something that people can't take away. And that's really what I'm focused on right now.
That's good. I love it. Well, man, I appreciate you being so vulnerable and transparent on your experience. Yeah, it's powerful. It's exciting to see that you've stabilized and got things, got out of debt, which is awesome. And a lot of learning curves, but this is why we do this stuff, right? We're here to talk about our journey. So ideally the listeners learn from our mistakes and don't make them themselves, right? You don't want to go through the same pain. And so learn from this stuff. But yeah, Quentin, how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah. So I would say Instagram is the easiest. New Deals Homes. Or if you want to get access to our free course, you can text Superhost to 26786.
Love it. And guys, if you want to connect with me, go to Instagram. It's Brandon Elliott Investments, or our business page, Credit Counsel Elite on IG. If you are looking to be able to get the most amount of funds, I'm talking up to $500,000 with the best rates, the best terms and conditions, as low as 0%, and do it with confidence and boldness, up to 90% approval odds. Have the option to repeat it every 6 months. I'm talking massive amounts of funding and putting it to work responsibly. We show you, we guide you, we give you the support throughout the whole process. And if you're interested in learning more about that, just simply go to creditcounselelite.com. That's www.creditcounselelite.com. We have free live training twice a week, Wednesday nights and Saturday mornings. It's a no-brainer. Would love to serve you there. Otherwise, if you have just checked out if you've just checked out Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast for the very first time, hit that subscribe button. We'll see you on the next episode next week, every single Monday. And then leave that 5-star review. Greatly appreciate all love, all the support, and looking forward to you guys reaching out. We'll see you soon. Till next time, guys. God bless. Thanks, Quentin.
Thanks a lot, Brandon.
This has been another episode of Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast, brought to you by Brandon Elliott. For more information, please visit BrandonElliottInvestments.com. Also, please don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment below. Thanks again for joining. Until next time, God bless.